The kingdom of Velmaria was once a land of light, basking in golden fields under silver skies. Its people thrived under the rule of Queen Lysandra, a sovereign beloved for her wisdom and justice. Her reign was a golden age of prosperity. Her speeches stirred hope in every heart, and her very gaze could bring silence to a bustling court. But as we know, the brightest light always casts the darkest shadow. And in Velmaria, that shadow had a name: Ser Kaelen Dren, the Warden of Secrets. Kaelen was not a man who sought titles or praise. He was a specter in the halls of power, always cloaked in grey, lingering in corners, a silent observer behind the grand tapestries of the court. Whispers of his deeds slithered through the palace, rebellions silenced before they began, assassins caught before their blades could draw blood, and enemies of the crown broken not with steel, but with secrets. He was the queen's most trusted asset, and her most feared, and he hated her. Not for any cruelty, nor for any misstep in her rule. He hated her because she ruled perfectly. Her flawless reign left no room for ambition, no cracks in the foundation for a man like him to exploit, no rot to cultivate. She gave him no path but servitude. He had saved her crown 100 times over, yet his reward was never more than a polite nod. No seat at her table, no voice in her council, no real power. But Kaelen understood the true nature of power. It wasn't something granted. It was something taken. His plan began to unfurl like a bolt of black silk. He started by forging a phantom, a conspiracy of nobles who supposedly met in secret, whispering of revolution, plotting the queen's downfall. The brilliant part? They didn't exist. Kaelen invented names, planted forged documents, and staged intercepted messages. Soon, a noblewoman was found with a dagger carved with treasonous sigils in her chambers. She swore she'd never seen it before, but her frantic protests only tightened the noose around her neck. Queen Lysandra, ever decisive, acted swiftly. Public executions followed. Titles were stripped. Entire families were disgraced. The once warm court turned cold, and trust vanished like breath in the winter air. Through it all, Kaelen stood faithfully by her side, a loyal shadow feeding her more truths, pointing out more traitors. With every head she ordered to roll, her halo of righteousness dimmed. Her just rule curdled into paranoia, her inspirational speeches twisted into angry snarls. Her people, who once adored her, began to fear her. And in the shadows, Kaelen smiled. The final act was set for the eve of mid-year's ascension, the kingdom's most sacred celebration. Kaelen appeared in the queen's chamber, dressed in his ceremonial grey, holding a single fateful parchment. "My queen," he said, his voice dripping with false solemnity. "The last conspirator has been unmasked." Lysandra took the parchment with a weary hand. Her crown sat slightly askew. Her eyes were hollowed out by suspicion and grief. But when she read the name written on the page, her own brother, Prince Oren, her grip faltered. Her voice trembled. "Impossible!" Kaelen stepped closer, his presence filling the room. "He plots to claim your throne, to cleanse your court. He has allies among the guard and intends to strike tonight." Her hands fell limp to her sides, the parchment fluttering to the floor. "I have already taken measures," Kaelen continued, his voice as smooth and cold as oiled steel. "Your brother is in the dungeons. The guards are loyal to me." "To you?" she asked, a spark of her old fire returning to her eyes. A heavy pause hung in the air, and in that silence, she finally saw it. Looking into his eyes, she saw not the fear or reverence of a servant, but the raw, insatiable hunger of a predator. "You betrayed me." He bowed his head, not in shame but in reverence, not to her, but to the triumphant moment he had engineered. "I freed you from the illusion of loyalty," he said, his voice low. "You ruled from a pedestal, but I built the foundations. I guarded the rot that festered beneath your perfect kingdom. And now, I inherit it." Her hand instinctively moved to the dagger at her side, but she was far too late. He struck with an elegant, practiced swiftness. A poison-tipped needle, sharp and thin, slid between her ribs. It was enough to paralyze her completely, but not enough to kill. Not yet. "You will watch," he whispered, kneeling beside her frozen form, his lips near her ear. "You will hear them cheer as I ascend. You will see your name blackened by the histories I will write, and you will learn what it truly means to be forgotten." At dawn, Kaelen stood upon the grand balcony of the ivory spire, draped in sable and crimson. The crowd below roared with approval, not for Lysandra, but for the man who had supposedly saved them from a vast conspiracy. From the tyrant she had become. From the queen who had, in their minds, murdered her own brother in a fit of paranoia. The truth was now nothing but ash, burned away in secret chambers. The people didn't need the truth. They needed certainty, and Kaelen gave it to them, a certainty wrapped in lies and polished with fear. Behind the curtains of the celebration, in a locked room deep beneath the palace, Queen Lysandra remained alive, paralyzed, her eyes wide with unspeakable horror. Each day Kaelen would visit her, not to torture her body, but her soul. He would recount his victories, confess the sins he had masterfully forged in her name, and describe the love the people now felt for him. He had turned her into a living reliquary of her own undoing. And so the Ashen Throne passed not to the just or the noble, but to the cunning. The kingdom of Velmaria did not fall to war or ruin, it fell to a whisper. And in the years that followed, the people learned to love their new ruler, because they no longer remembered any other. Thank you so much for watching this tale unfold. If you enjoy stories of dark intrigue and complex characters, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next story.